We will now call the March 3rd Central School Board District meeting to order. We will open by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Jan, could you lead us in that?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Move to adopting the agenda. There's a couple of changes.
Yeah, so we have two adjustments to the agenda. We do have a presentation from OSEA as requested, just a short presentation that is connected to recognition we'll do here in a second. They'll present after the youth report. Then we will go, again, we have a brief recognition into our student report, followed by the OSEA report. We'll hear communication from the floor. We will then have an adjustment and move the consent agenda after the communication from the floor. After the consent agenda, we'll move into our standing reports. We do have one program report, and I do have some information to update you, and one policy. We'll then move into board report and then finish up with our business agenda items, comments from individual board members, and then we do not have executive session this evening.
Question. If I want to take an item from the consent agenda and separate it out for discussion, do I do that now or when the consent agenda time comes?
And when we get to the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Let's talk about recognition.
Yeah, so we are going to start this evening to recognize one of our groups. It is this upcoming week, Classified Employee Appreciation Week. And so as we do each year, we are going to announce a resolution. So whereas the education of youth is essential to the future of our community, state, country, and world, and whereas classified employees are the backbones of our public education system, and whereas classified employees work directly with students, educators, parents, volunteers, business partners, and community members. And whereas classified employees support the smooth operation of offices, the safety and maintenance of buildings and property, and the safe transportation, healthy nutrition, and direct instruction of students. And whereas our community depends upon and trusts classified employees to serve students. And whereas classified employees with their diverse talents and true dedication nurture students throughout their school years. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Central School District Board 13J Board of Directors proclaims March 3rd through 7th, 2025 to be Classified Employee Appreciation Week. And be it further resolved that the Central School District 13J Board of Directors strongly encourages all members of our community to join in this observance, recognizing the dedication and hard work of these individuals. And this will be adopted the 3rd day of March, 2025. So thank you for the continued support that you do with our students in conjunction with our licensed staff and the work that you do each and every day in support of the school district. Thank you very much.
Move into student reports.
Yeah, so we have several young people come on up and sit in front here. Joining us this evening is the Central High School Youth Advisory Committee. This committee is developed in conjunction with the Central Health and Wellness Center. The Central Health and Wellness Center is a certified school-based, we'll get you another chair here, is a school-based health center that serves the entire community with Central School District's students as its priority. This is a group that, as part of the work in having a certified Central Health and Wellness Center in our community, that there's a student advisory committee that's here, and they're going to introduce themselves and share a little bit about what they've been doing as committee members.
So my name is Elisa Rodriguez. I'm a senior here at Central, and I actually just joined the Youth Advisory Committee for Advocacy Day.
You guys can go on to the next slide.
Are you gonna introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Naomi Flores. Sorry, I'm a senior and I have been in the Youth Advisory Committee since my sophomore year. That's when I joined Power Peers. So we're just a branch off of Power Peers that focuses on making the difference for students in our community and district. So I'm just here to share a little bit about the work we've done in the Health Advisory Committee. So this past Wednesday, we went to advocate at the Capitol for our school-based health center. So some facts about our school-based health center is that only 30 out of 1,200 schools have a school-based health center. Our school nurse refers about 10 students a day to the school-based health center, so you guys can probably see the impact it has there. 3 out of those students are actually for mental health reasons, and so obviously they've made a huge impact in our students and community. And so yeah, there's a lot of benefits to our students in our community as it's like little to no cost. And so we just kind of went to advocate for those people to continue funding for our school-based health center. We got to talk to Representative or Legislator Paul Evans. And so we got to introduce some ideas about how he could specifically help with funding and possibly within the few next years, introduce those ideas and continue to create awareness. Yeah. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Avila Martinez. I'm a senior in Power Peers. So this upcoming April, next month, we're gonna have our health week, which is like we have like a whole week of health related spirit days, like wear athletic wear and stuff like that. And then at the end of the week, we have our health fair, which has like raffle baskets centered around health, mental health, physical health, emotional health. We also have games that have healthy snacks and are centered around like just like bettering yourself and, you know, being healthy. And then we also have healthy foods like smoothies and stuff. We are also partnering with Polk County to raise awareness about like substance abuse and addiction, just to educate our community about that stuff as well. And then in May, we have our second annual color run, which just spreads awareness about the mental health and educates the youth about resources and stuff like that.
That's pretty much it. Thank you.
All we have.
Thank you.
Questions? And ladies, if you,
Questions or comments from the board?
if you need to go do homework or anything, feel free to, you don't need to stay. So I just want to give you that option if you would like.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have the president of OSCA number 124, Denise Chase, who's here to report as it is Classified Appreciation Week. And she has one other joining. I'll let them both introduce themselves.
Hello. First of all, I want to say thank you to the board and Dr. Kabista for the resolution on behalf of Classified Appreciation Week. It's been my privilege to work with this amazing group of people for many years, and it gives me great joy to witness their contributions to the education of our students and support for one another. Our concern for the need of our students comes from a unique perspective. When we're neither behind the scenes nor front and center, we are side by side with our students. Sorry, whether in the classroom, playground, cafeteria, or hallways. We're constantly providing tools for students to use in their day-to-day education and in life. We support and fight for our students and ourselves daily. And as you may already know, we're not afraid to be heard. We have our own opinions, not dictated by fellow associations or administration, but by experience and observation. When disagreements arise, we stay at the table with those who are willing and work together respectfully to come to a solution or consensus. We've learned through experience to talk through hard things and listen to all sides. Unfortunately, This can sometimes be misunderstood by others as a weakness on a part of our union. We sit here today telling you the opposite is true. Our input comes straightforward and honest. You will not need social media or an algorithm to know where our employees stand, because we encourage input from all of our people, even when their opinion may not align with our specific desired result. We strive to work for what is best for everyone. Remembering that change, while desired, can be hard, nothing happens overnight. If change were quick and easy, we wouldn't value the end result if not for the hard work it takes to achieve.
Hi, my name is Danielle Dunn. I'm an instructional assistant at Central High School, and I'm the secretary for our local union chapter for classified employees. We are members not only of the school family, but our community. We provide our students with the tools for success and building of self-confidence far beyond the 9-to-5 job. We support students on field trips and after-school programs like sports, fine arts, ag, events, and with unified sports teams. We just recently were able to start a unified sports team back up at the high school, combining our typically developing general education population with our special education program students that would like to participate in sports but don't have the other opportunities. They recently just went to Oregon State University and were able to compete in a tournament for unified sports where they were able to place second. And they have all been very proudly wearing their medals at school for the past week. Unified sport, thank you. Unified sports is unique. It's different than Special Olympics, which is an outside organization, whereas unified sports is a team that is through and recognized by the school. It's just like any other sports program that we offer at our high schools or our middle schools. In fact, today they had an assembly at the high school where our unified sports team was able to show off some of their skills. One of our students made his second for the season half-court shot. It was great. Today and over this weekend, a couple of us from our classified employees were able to go to the Salem Convention Center and the state capitol to be able to meet and participate in talks with leaders at the state capitol. We were able to talk about the importance of classified employees and what they bring to the schools and to the education of our young people.
And if I may say, keeping kind of with the sports theme, we may not be the captains of the education team, but I can say without a doubt that without the wind we provide to the sails, moving the rudder on a sailboat does nothing on its own. There's no more rewarding occupation than being in education, even when the dark storms come, even when times are tough and occasionally intense. We love our job because we love to see our students thrive and succeed. I hope you will all take a moment this week to thank the classified employees who show up, stand up, and support our students, because we do it from the heart. Thank you.
All right, I meant to mention for anybody that was really enthused by the unified sports, we're actually having a home game here at the Panther Pit this Thursday, March 6th at 3:45, and all are welcome.
Thank you.
The classified employees in our school district are so important to what we do. They are so important. And they're often the unsung heroes. And I just think that we really ought to just clap like heck for them. I really.
Okay, we're going to move to communication from the floor. Got some information that I'd like to read prior to. Comments from the community are entertained during the time designated under communications public comment. If you wish to speak to the board, please fill out a comment card and turn it into the board's secretary or the board chair at the beginning of the meeting. Speakers' comments in this forum are limited to 3 minutes, and we're going to hold to that pretty tight tonight. Board Member Graham will give you a 30-second notice when you're coming up on your 3 minutes, just because we have so many. Personnel laws prohibit the board from hearing public complaints about an individual in an open meeting. All complaints must go through the board's approved processes as outlined in policy KL, which we've provided copies of that at the door somewhere, I think. Is that right?
As you walk in, yes.
As you walk in, there's copies of that. This form may be found also at the website or by calling the district office. Typically, a speaker's comment is taken under advisement to allow time for the board to review an issue. However, the board chair or the board members may ask a speaker for additional information or may convey to the speaker some information that addresses their comment. Please note on the speaker card if you would like to receive follow-up communication, and if so, what avenue is preferred. We appreciate your attendance at the school board. I also want to read some helpful information from the policy itself that governs our public comments. And this is because I know that emotions are high. Speakers may offer objective criticism of district operations and programs. The board will not hear comments regarding any individual district staff member. The board chair will direct the visitor to the procedures in board policy KL, like I have, public complaints for board consideration of legitimate complaints involving a staff member. The association contracts governing the employee's rights will be followed. A commendation involving a staff member should be sent to the superintendent, who will forward it to the employee, his or her supervisor, and the board. So positive or negative, we don't discuss staff or employees during this time. You can submit those comments in writing if you want, but public comment is not the time to do that. So we will start with the cards. Alicia Wenzel. Pardon? No. We have a lot to get through. Okay. Marcus Wenzel.
Is that working? You good? So my name is Marcus Wenzel, and I am a community member. And I would just like to say that I would like to express my support for the vice principal as she contends this policy. And I'm going to divert from my prepared remarks a little bit and just say I'm not envious of the position that you're all in tonight. Obviously, there's a lot of people in the room, and you're probably going to hear a lot of things. And my hope is that you're going to hear more positives about this individual rather than personnel decisions made by Central. There have been a long-standing tradition of local folks coming up from the faculty that have faculty support that have gone into administration, that have been for whatever reason, not carried on. And my hope is that the people that are behind me that all want to get up and use their 3 minutes as best they can will speak to the merits of the individual in question tonight. This vice principal.
Mr. Wenzel, we can't.
Too much?
That's too much.
That's fine. That's fine. Well, then I'm just going to say how much I have respected working with individuals at Central High School, and how much I've heard over the years of working with people at Central. I sub, I supervise, I have a lot of connections with Central High School, about a line that I've heard over and over again about certain personnel at the high school. And the line that I keep hearing over and over again is, She holds this place together. And in my mind, I cannot fathom a decision that would say
Okay,
for
we're,
personnel like that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. But I can't say how much I support this particular individual and how much I've seen this particular individual
okay, we're.
be a heart and soul.
We're over the line.
I'm over the line. Okay,
Yeah, I'm
that's
sorry.
That's fine. No, that's perfectly fine. But I'm a big fan, and I think there's a lot of people behind me that are big fans as well. Okay, is that okay?
If that's all, that's okay.
That's fine. That's fine. I think a lot of people behind me are probably going to say the same thing.
Okay.
Okay. Awesome. That's it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Frank White.
Wasn't sure what I wanted to say, so let AI do it. I'm a little curious to see what we're gonna have here. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for the opportunity to address the board this evening. I truly appreciate it. Being able to discuss difficult matters in an open forum is perhaps the heart of a democracy that is under assault. My name is Frank White. Taught history and English at Central High School from 2014 until last year. Let me do as I sometimes do, start my comments with a story. I've only got a few minutes, so I'll go to the short version. As a younger man, I worked for a demanding boss. Did some things I didn't agree with. Naturally, I complained to my friends. And as they say, bad gas travels fast in a small town. My bad mouthing made its way back to my boss, who asked me about what I had said. I was surprised when he wasn't angry, but he did give me some good advice. He said, hey, next time you disagree with something I do or say, talk to me first, because I'm the one most likely to be able to make the change you're looking for. That experience taught me what confidence and leadership looks like. He wasn't threatened by what I had done, calmly discussed the issue, and moved on without recrimination. Effective leadership isn't threatened by criticism, finds ways to address such situations, and exploits teachable moments instead of seeing every challenge as a threat. In the 9 years I worked at Central, I worked for 6 principals. 6. Try building an effective learning community with that kind of continuity. Some were good leaders, some excellent leaders, some less so. None had a common approach or values or educational philosophy or even leadership skills. That left the staff and the students oftentimes in a lurch that they got used to. The district didn't seem to have a vision for what it wanted at the high school or the sort of leader that could help build an effective learning community. There were opportunities to select and support effective leaders, but those opportunities were often squandered. There seems to be a pattern in this district of a fragility in leadership that borders on cowardice. Capable, confident leaders, particularly strong female leaders, don't seem to be welcome here. In particular, leaders with roots in this community seem to threaten district leadership. This district's inability to recognize and foster effective leadership is one of the reasons why I found it easier to lead the best job I ever had, the best students I've ever worked with, and the most talented teachers I've ever had the privilege of working with. Perhaps it takes an effective leader to recognize that ability in others. The latest calamity we're all here to address tonight is possibly yet again like losing an effective leader at the high school. We're talking about the uncontested, most effective teacher in the building. The person with the most respect for students, staff, parents. Don't worry, I won't use her name. I don't have to. We all know who she is. How fortunate this district is to have her services, and how disastrous it is to even consider losing such an inspiration.
Mr. White, we can't
Understood.
by implication or
Appreciate the
any of
correction. Point well taken.
that's three.
Whatever else district leadership may be, no one has ever described it as inspirational. It may be time to reconsider how important that is. This district's incompatibility with strong, capable leaders willing to challenge a district with a history of issues has produced a climate of recrimination, suspicion, and fear. This is one of the district's biggest shortcomings and one of the several concerns voiced here this evening that you're going to hear.
That's 3 minutes. Can we get the remainder in writing?
Can I get 2 more sentences?
Sure.
All right, thank you. I appreciate your generosity. The, the community has voiced its lack of support for district leadership by denying badly needed financial support with the failed bond issue. Not because they don't support the school. This community addresses and adores the school, frequently goes above and beyond for Central students. No, the failure of the bond is the clearest message possible that this community has lost confidence in district leadership. If this board expects improvement, then it has to make changes. Thank you.
TJ Bailey.
It's on my time, but I didn't realize I had ADHD until I started looking at my notes. It's gonna take us a little bit. Good evening. For those of you who may not know me, my name is TJ Bailey. I am currently one of the amazing 9th grade language arts teachers. Avid 11 teacher, Avid site coordinator, department chair for Avid. In the past, I've done special education, been an instructional coach / mentor, and a million other duties as assigned. I'm currently in my 18th year here at Central School District. I'm here to speak not only for myself, but for those that fear retaliation for voicing their concerns of the current state of the high school, which, to be frank, is not current, as it's been going on for far too long. I wasn't going to speak today, as today's been kind of an emotional day for me, but what the hell, it keeps me out of my city council meeting. So here we go. I know there are certain things that we cannot discuss, and I will honor that. What I will say is that for my first 9 years in this district, I had the pleasure of working at Talmadge Middle School. I had 1 principal, 1 VP, and 1 AD / dean of students the entire time I was there. To say things worked well is an understatement. To say we were supported is an understatement. I'm pretty sure, but I'm not good at math. You can ask my math teacher, but I think this is my 9th year, going on my 9th year at CHS. In that time, I've had 3 interim principals, 1 principal for 4 years, even though COVID hit us pretty hard there. And then I'm pretty sure mathematically we had 1 full-time principal for a year and a month. I literally cannot tell you how many vice principals we've had since I've been there for 9 years. I bring this up as our high school was once that standard that other school districts strive to be. Now we're just a district that others laugh at. We have become a district of checking boxes with the latest buzzwords. For example, we say we are trauma informed, but when it comes to staff and building administrators, we are not. And we say we practice restorative justice, again, not when it comes to staff and building administrators. I say this because, well, actually, here's my notes. How can we meet the social, emotional, and academic needs of our students when our staff are in constant trauma? On Monday, February 10th, I walked into the building, and as many as the individuals behind me, and I'll try not to cry, it felt like the same day I walked into the building after the loss of Van Holstead and Dan Hansen. That's how I felt at the loss of one of our administrators. If we are truly going to be trauma-informed or use restorative justice, we need to listen, reassure, validate, respond, repair, and resolve. As a district, we often will listen, but just to respond. Then we'll respond, and then we'll resolve it. We ignore reassuring, validating, and repairing.
30
Understand
seconds.
my
TJ.
time's up. I have 1 sentence.
Sure.
It's a combination. I'm a language arts teacher. I don't know how this works. We often say that we need to move slow to move fast. This is what I've learned in my time here. We're slow to listen and engage and meet the needs of our staff. Not counting teachers, instructional assistants, and the amazing classified staff that we have. We're fast to drive out and remove competent, qualified, engaging, student-centered, and strong female administrators. I yield back the rest of my time.
Barbara Harriman. Barbara Harriman. Barbara. The one who was listening, Rob.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for giving me this time. My name is Barbara Harriman. I am a recent parent. My son graduated in 2020 and daughter in 2024. I was a volunteer at the high school for many, many years. And I've submitted a 4-page letter to the board of directors already with my concerns. And I understand I cannot speak directly of what it is I really wish to speak about. But I guess the biggest thing I would like to see from the district, school district, and the board of the directors is more transparency. Transparency on recruitment process, interview process, appointing people to positions that are not vetted, using a consistent recruitment interview process. We've had 12 principals and then 8 assistant principals in the past 8 years who all have one thing in common: the same superintendent. Leadership. We need to wake up. We need to save our schools. We need to support our teachers. We need to support our teachers and administrative staff. They're suffering. They need support. The kids need support. We are so low in our benchmarks for math and English. It's embarrassing. It is embarrassing. We're losing people. Coming to this school, parents are pulling their kids out, sending them off to another district, private school, because we cannot support a good education for their children. These are educators. It's time for us to wake up. And we look to you, board, the school board, to help listen. Go into the school, interview the staff, the teacher, the students. Listen and try to help them be better leaders. And also help them grow professionally too. They need to be mentored. Why do we have to go so far out to find people who are not invested in our community? It's so important to have people invested in this community. Isn't that what an assistant principal is? A principal? We want to help mentor them to be good assistant principals and principals. And we need people that have had experience in the classroom experience going into the administrative field. That is important. Those people know how to be in the classroom. They know what teachers need and support. I beg you, please listen, investigate, and try to help our school, all of our schools. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Rob, your turn now.
Hello, board. My name is Rob Harriman, and central class of 80 something. I'm not going to go there. So I didn't prepare any remarks because I was sort of waiting to see what other people had to say, and I'm amused at how many people are redrafting their letters back there with the constraints that I don't think a lot of people were aware of. There's a couple of things I'd like to address. One is, please listen to all these comments with an open mind. We have a proposal coming up of which staff members are going to be renewed and which are not. You're not a rubber stamp. Please listen to what these people are telling you about the staffing for this district. They're here because they're engaged. They know the dynamics of this district. They know what's going on, and they're members of the community. So please listen to what everybody has to say with an open mind. to get more specific about my concerns with this district, the transparency that Barbara was talking about is a real problem. I'm very suspicious as soon as I hear that districts, that employees that are asked to leave are requested to sign an NDA in order to take the buyout. I have never heard of that in education before. That is somebody covering some misdeeds. That's somebody who messed up and they don't want to get caught. So please think to yourself, which side is acting ethically here? And listen to the comments, please. That's all I got.
I'm gonna butcher this one. Lori Samansky.
That's good.
All right.
It's Lori Szymanski.
Szymanski, sorry.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak. 3 years ago, I sat in front of you and spoke, and I pleaded with you to ask that you let me speak a little bit longer than 3 minutes, given that I've given a significant number of years to this district. That number is now 27 years. I have taught thousands of students in this district. Some of them sit behind me as parents, actually, in this front row. I am also teaching the grandchildren, like their children now. I am also a taxpayer and a mom, 2021 grad and a senior at Central High School currently. And I made a very difficult parenting decision about 11 years ago. And I had lived in Salem at that time and commuted. And I decided I wanted to move my kids to Central School District. And I stand by that decision as the best parenting decision I ever made. However, I come to you tonight and I tell you that if my kids were little, I would not make that decision today. And it absolutely breaks my heart. And I want you to know it has nothing to do with the quality of teachers in this district and has everything to do with the fact that we are hemorrhaging our good leaders. We are coaching up these amazing teachers, telling them they should go into admin, helping them get into admin. And then when they do, they're pushed out. We cannot keep doing that. As TJ says, it is not trauma informed. It is causing trauma to our students, our community, and people are talking. People outside of this district are talking. And it begs the question, is that why the NDA is being requested? But this has become a stepping stone to other people or other places. And how will we attract good quality teachers, good quality leaders if we cannot retain the ones that we have? There is a feeling of fear. There are many veteran teachers who wanted to speak tonight and many were afraid of flashback of doing that. I myself share that. But I cannot teach my kids to stand up and do the right thing if I'm not willing to do that myself. I would like to ask the board to consider exit interviews for administration who are leaving. I would strongly like to ask that you refuse a certain non-renewal that is on your table tonight, because that is the person who runs our building. And it is the one who has been running it all year and for quite some time. And I don't know what we're going to do without her. So please do not accept that. I am also considering, after 27 years, even though I would like to finish my career here, I've begun to think about leaving, and that is heartbreaking. I bleed Panther red. You have no idea what I have sacrificed for this community and for its students, for its children. And so all I ask tonight is that you hear me and that you listen, and please hear what we are saying from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
Jessica Perez. Jessica Perez.
Time I had something prepared to speak to that I won't be able to, so I'm just gonna speak and co-sign what everyone else has said previously. I am a CHS mom. I have a graduate from 2022, and then a 2026 graduate here coming up. So I'm almost done with Central School District, but I have a lot of friends who have young kids, and those kids are my kids too. And I'm here for them. I'm here for those kids. And we are just looking for, like everyone else said, transparency, visibility, things that are important to our school to help these kids move on. We are in such a hard period after COVID, and it should have been, the last couple years should have been rebuilding years, and we haven't really rebuilt anything. We're just kind of scrambling, I feel like. And I feel like there has been no rebuilding since COVID, and the kids have suffered significantly. I'm very lucky that my kid worked her ass off and got a scholarship and earned herself that spot. She had a lot of help from great educators to get there. And a lot of those educators are no longer here, or they're also on their way out as well. And that's really sad and that's scary for the rest of these kids that are coming up. And, you know, these younger kids, and I'm fearful for those kids. And everyone should have the same opportunities that we were afforded. And I think that the lack of support when it comes to our educators is significantly showing. You guys all know, you can all see the scores. You have the proof in front of you. We all have it. We can all see it. And everyone knows that there are certain teachers that our kids connect with. And when those teachers are gone, you lose not only the faith of the students, which is devastating, but you lose the faith of the parents as well. The fact that teachers in our district no longer want their own children to go to school here is very telling. And I urge you all to please consider, like Rob said, consider what everyone's saying. Don't be a rubber stamp. Think about the kids, please, because we're not going to be here forever. We're all getting old. And the kids are the ones that are coming up. We have some amazing teachers here, and teachers that used to be Central students, which I love seeing. And I just hope that those teachers can hang on, and I hope that you all can help support them and give them some faith that they have support coming, and they will remain strong, and they will remain in their positions because they want to be here. They live here. So support those folks, especially the teachers that we have now. That's it.
Arana Pickett.
I'm Marana Pickett, an avid 11th student at Central High School. I would like to draw attention today to the very crucial role that communication plays in a building that involves a positive school climate, particularly between staff and administration. When communication is poor between these two, everybody loses except the students, who are compelled to suffer the consequences of our poor communication by not being able to learn in a safe and effective learning climate. Ambiguous communication leads to confusion, misaligned expectations, and unnecessary stress. Teachers are not notified of policy changes, administration decisions, or upcoming events. Without the support and guidance they need, they may not be able to provide for their students with the best education possible. The added stress of feeling unsupported or uninformed creates a culture of frustration and stress. This tension is transferred to the classroom. Students learn best in an environment where their teachers are secure and well prepared. But when teachers are left uncertain or frustrated by changes and last-minute decisions, their ability to teach as effectively is compromised. Students sense this tension, which can lead to a less than ideal learning experience. Effective communication among staff and administration is not just a matter of sending out memos or having meetings. It's establishing an open, honest, and caring relationship where both understand their roles and expectations. When we work together, we can create a positive, productive atmosphere for everyone, especially our students, who are the heart of your mission. Thank you for your time.
Scott Beaver.
I'll send my comments to the board.
Okay, thank you. Josiah Sage. Okay. We've got a list of people who are online for comments.
Some of them may be present. They
Oh.
just signed up online.
Oh, they're here?
Yes, yes.
Oh, they signed up online. Let's see. David Dellinger. Did I butcher that one? Okay. Oh, nice. Love Johnny Cash.
My name is David Dellinger. My son graduated from CHS last year. My daughter will graduate from CHS next year. I'm alarmed by this non-renewal at CHS. It was just hurtful to hear about this.
We can't go into that, Mr. Dellinger.
Yeah, this is one of the most competent people. This is wrong. This
Mr.
decision.
Dellinger, I got to cut you off. If you can't change the topic or go about it a different way.
I'll go about it a different way.
Okay, appreciate it.
I'm here to ask for three things. One, that the school board investigate this. Two, this appears to be part of a larger pattern of questionable personnel decisions over several years. We've had qualified search finalists who've been bypassed. We've seen interim administrators appointed and then rolled into permanent positions. And now this. And you know what this is. The school board is the boss. We elected you. I'm asking the school board to assert its authority to review and ask questions about these decisions to the public. From the review of school board minutes, there's no evidence that this happened. Does it happen in the closed session? If not, it needs to. To my knowledge, there's currently no active process of exit interviews for teachers and administrators who leave the district. Many good ones have left, and the school board needs to know why. Please put into place exit interviews if this is not being done. Thank you.
Nathan Muti.
Mutai.
Mutai.
Well, hello, everybody. My name is Nathan Mutai. I'm a fifth grade teacher, union president for the licensed people, and a community member. Before I begin, I just want to take a moment of mindfulness, a real moment of mindfulness to recognize where we are right now and the amazing process of being able to talk to a democratically elected organization that makes decisions democratically. That's awesome. I love it. And as a regular attender, I know that you are all here because you really care about the students. We all care about the students. I'm here tonight to talk about the fear of retaliation. I've been talking to a lot of educators these past several weeks, and I'm hearing that people want to talk and share, but they're afraid of the consequences. They're worried that by sharing out, future opportunities will not be available to them. Opportunities, for example, like starting a new club, teaching a new course or grade level, or becoming involved in leadership positions at their building and across the district. I can't speak to any retaliation cases against licensed staff that our district has in the last couple of years because there's none to my knowledge. But we still have a problem. There are licensed employees who do not trust the leaders in this district. Trust is important in any relationship. It's important to our educators, it's important to our students, and it's very important to our community. Something I've learned from my many years of teaching, my students don't learn because I give them information or the elegant and amazing ways I dazzle them with my knowledge. No. They learn because they trust that what they're doing matters. They trust that being vulnerable and asking questions will help them grow. They trust me. They trust each other, and they trust themselves. The same is true of you. Our community needs to trust this organization. They need to believe that you will be able to build something that will last for 100 years or more. How do you do that? I don't know. And you don't have to know either, because these people have some ideas on how you can build that trust. So I'm going to wrap it up by asking our community to help our school board, because we need to repair our schools. We need to build a new grade school, and that will require a lot of trust. Thank you.
Sarah Granum.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Granum. I am a parent to a student at MES, a resident of Monmouth, and a teacher at Central. I am speaking to you today not only as a frustrated teacher, but as a concerned community member and parent within this district. I'm also speaking on behalf of colleagues and community members that have chosen not to speak for fear of retaliation. In my 8 years at Central, I have had 9 different administrators. Unfortunately, when schools roll through new administrators every couple of years, there is so much time lost training those administrators how the school works that there is never consistency in teacher evaluation or enforcement of school policies. I firmly believe that if we had a strong, consistent group of leaders in our schools that had more than 1 to 2 years to get on the same page, it would help address issues our school and district has surrounding student attendance, connection, and achievement. I understand that this is not an easy problem to solve, as many qualified candidates do not even apply for our district. However, I am disappointed that our district leadership appears to pass over, move, push out, or scare off qualified administrators that we already have that love this community and are doing the hard work to make it better. For example, we have supported, even encouraged several teachers in district as they gained their administration licenses. Unfortunately, in most cases, this has not led to those individuals getting a fair shot at open admin positions or being pushed out in one way or another in 1 to 2 years. This is a common trend that I implore the board to investigate. Why is this happening to the admin that want to be here and have gained staff respect? Why is our district leadership the cause of this high rate of turnover in our building district-wide? I also implore the board to address the lack of clear hiring practices for administration. The district has now appointed several admin without a formal hiring process. Administrators are too important to the functioning of schools to not follow clear, specific hiring procedures to obtain qualified candidates. I have spoken to several of my friends who are parents of students across all schools in the district, and they all share a couple common concerns. They feel that the constant rotation of administrators is creating a safety concern for their kids. There is an incredible amount of student bullying that is happening district-wide that is not being addressed fully or at all. This means that we have students that are embarrassed, scared, traumatized, and otherwise not able to access their learning. Our vulnerable students are not adequately being provided the supports and guidance that they need. They also have concerns because of many of our buildings have huge structural maintenance and safety concerns. Unfortunately, they felt that the school bond seemed too big and not specific enough to pass in order to address these issues. Personally, I have a very vulnerable student in the district. I feel blessed that her current administration has been fairly consistent in supporting her. I worry about her moving up through Talmadge and Central because of all of the previously mentioned concerns. I've been strongly considering transferring her out of district to avoid these concerns. This breaks my heart because I not only chose to live in this community because I love it here, but I chose to send my daughter to our schools because we have amazing teachers. I used to be so excited for her to be in my school someday. Now I'm not sure that I want that to happen. School board members, please take time to review your roles as board members. Please investigate the issues and history surrounding the hiring and retention of administrators in our district. Find and enforce a solution that will bring consistency and safety back into our buildings. You have the power to ignite the change that is so desperately needed. Thank you.
Abby Fitz.
Good evening. My name is Abby Fitz. I am the mother of 2 alum and 1 current student. I've actually never spoken on the record before, in part because I've been reluctant to do so. I don't want to appear divisive or argumentative. I truly value our school and our wonderful community of people, and I am so grateful for the service that each and every one of you provides to our people. Many of you are my friends. We've sold Christmas trees together and serve on boards together, and many of our children have sat in classes together. So it takes a special set of circumstances for me to get up here, and I believe we have those circumstances in front of us now. A few days ago, I actually posted on social media about the need for some change in our district. We're not only hemorrhaging good quality educators, but we're hemorrhaging good quality female administrators. Our stats are embarrassingly low. We seem distracted from the business of educating our next generation of children. In response to this post, I received an overwhelming number of anonymous individual messages from current Central educators, some of them I'm not even friends with on Facebook, in every position and in every single building, who expressed to me things I never could have imagined that were the reality of the district my children attend. The tangible and real fear of losing their jobs simply for asking questions or reporting harassment was absolutely impossible for me to ignore. So if they can't speak, I will speak for them. Here are some of the things that they said. Abby, thank you for speaking out and for bringing to light this major issue within the district. I have firsthand knowledge that the issues brought to light are real. They are growing and they are directly impacting the culture at Central. Abby, due to fear of retaliation, which so many of even our most veteran teachers share, I could not even sign my name to my letter. If some things don't change, it breaks my heart to say I will be applying outside of Central School District to finish my career. Abby, we have a complete erosion of morale and trust of the district within our walls. Abby, the school board needs to start visiting our schools and start asking questions. Abby, we do not trust anyone. I hope we can trust the school board to start asking questions. These are our educators. They teach our children and lead our staff. They are entrusted with the well-being of our most precious commodity. I cannot even imagine how they can possibly be giving their best efforts to this high calling when they cannot even ask for help to fix the problems that they're facing. This is not just about one person. This is about hearing what is being said and has been said for months. It is about fixing a system that needs to be fixed so we can get back to the most important job of educating our children and preparing our next generation. Thank you.
Tana Cable.
Good evening. 1 second here while I pull up my notes. My name is Tana Cable. I'm a community member, a local business owner, a Central graduate, and my kids have all attended Central schools. I'm speaking tonight to be a voice for our teachers, staff, and district employees. I have conversations with people about our schools and our district almost on a daily basis. I talk to community members, district employees, parents of current students, parents of students who have or are considering leaving our district, and parents that are considering moving into our community and into our school district. In the last years, there have been rising concerns in our community that our district is crumbling. And I have to say, I share that concern. Mostly, I'm concerned about the culture in our district. I grew up in this community. My parents moved here for my dad to take a job as a teacher and a coach here at Central. His intentions were to be here for about 2 years and go back to Eastern Oregon, which was home for them. As my parents started building friendships with other people in the school district and getting settled in, They found out that this community is a very special place to live and raise a family. Fast forward 60 years when all of my siblings and I have gone through central schools and our kids are all raised in central schools. This has become home for me and my family. I have a great appreciation for the role our schools and our educators play in our community. I feel a responsibility to do my part to support our educators and our district employees. And so it concerns me when I hear fantastic teachers and educators, people who are dedicated to our students and community, say things like, I don't feel like I have the support and tools from the district to do my job well. Or I don't feel like my expertise is valued. As teachers, we aren't valued by the district. To them, we are disposable. People don't speak up in our district because they fear retaliation. I'm concerned when I see a dedicated teacher and a coach attempt to collaborate with the district and receive absolutely no response and communication. Someone who spends incredible hours investing in our students because they have so much care in the students in our community. I'm concerned about the leadership in our buildings. We've had 7 different people serve as the principal at Central in a 10-year period. We've had 2 new hire building principals in our district last a year, and one wasn't even in the building for a year. That concerns me. It concerns me that our staff and our students don't have solid, consistent leadership. I'm here tonight because I'm concerned for the working conditions and the culture that our outstanding teachers and professionals work in. These are people that have taught my kids and been their coaches and mentors. These are people that are not only educators, but they're the parents in our district. There are alumni that are serving in our schools and our community. These are people that are my friends. They're part of my church family. These people are part of our community, and it concerns me that they do not feel honored and valued in the work that they do.
Got 3 minutes, Tana.
I'm going to close, and I want to say thank you to all of you because you come month after month and put in hours that obviously you care about our community and you care about our students. And so I want to thank you for the work that you do. Thank you.
Thank everybody who participated in communication from the floor. That's all we have. Now we'll move to, actually, we're going to adjust the schedule. We're going to go to consent agenda, correct? Isn't that what we decided? Going to move to the consent agenda. So be entertaining motions or ideas.
Byron, I ask that we separate some pieces of the consent agenda, given what we've heard tonight.
Okay.
I know even in my own evaluation in the spring, I had raised concerns about turnover for administrators at the secondary level in our district. I know that we can't talk about personnel, but I do think we have a structural systemic issue that we need to discuss. And so I'd like the consent agenda item for non-renewals to be pulled out so that we can discuss it as a board and investigate further.
Okay. Any objection to that, to moving that to the business agenda part? Okay, so I'll entertain a motion on the consent agenda minus the 24-25 renewal, non-renewal sheet. All those in favor of?
You have to actually get the motion first.
Oh, yeah.
I'll also move.
So moved by Don, seconded by Susan. All in favor of that, raise your hand. Any opposed? Passes 6-0. So we will move that discussion to the business agenda.
Thank you.
Do you want to adjust to the business agenda now and address it?
Sure.
So we could go through what's currently on the business agenda and then add that in at the end?
That's part C, yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair Schenkel.
So on the business agenda, we have 2 items, now 3. First, we have the 24-25 school calendar adjustment. The district has had to use 2 snow days, February 13th and 14th. This adjusted 24-25 calendar reflects using the 2 snow days that have been set aside to make up the days missed in February. Please note that March 21st, the Friday before spring break, and May 23rd, the Friday before Memorial Day weekend, will now become regular school days. So this is just an adjustment to the current calendar.
Any questions or discussion? Entertain a motion.
I move that we accept the adjustment to the school calendar.
Second.
Can you read the suggested motion? I'm
Yes.
sorry, I won't be.
I move to approve the changes to the 2024-25 school year calendar, adding in 2 snow makeup days.
Moved by
And I'll second
Melanie,
that.
seconded by Peggy. All those in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? Passes 6-0. Moving on to the 25-26 school year calendar.
Yes, so the 25-26 school year calendar is before you. This has been crafted with input from administrators, building leadership teams, and both union leadership teams. The calendar includes 3 options for snow makeup days. If needed, 2 of these are built into the second school year, in a way that will not extend the school year beyond the last day of June 16th. Also, fall conference will be Monday and Tuesday of that fall break, which is what we normally do. So we're looking for a motion to approve for next year.
I'm just reading, I'm catching up.
Does this have the same number of days as this year?
We are in 194 based on the contract. And that will be it. So we've added as over the last 3 years. So we are now at the full amount
Okay.
for our contract.
Was this calendar developed with the associations?
Yes, both associations have been a part of the process as well as leadership teams at the building level.
Thanks.
Mhm.
Any other questions, discussion? Entertain a motion.
I'll go. I move to adopt the 25-26 school year calendar and the 26-27 draft school year calendar as presented.
I'll second it.
Moved by Melanie, seconded by Jan. All those in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? 6-0. Passes. Okay. So now, as we discuss, this is a first for us, so it may appear a little clumsy, but we obviously need to tread lightly as far as discussing anything individual. We are under a time deadline here. We have until March 15th to either renew or not renew these contracts. That's our legal obligation. And secondly, people need to know as well. So they need to be notified once this vote is taken. Secondly, from a procedural standpoint, as you all are aware, and many in the audience may not be aware, we don't hear the facts of why we renew or why we're not renewing unless there's a hearing, because the board is the final arbiter of fact in these situations. We are the last line of defense for people who feel that they have been wronged. So in order to initiate that process, the action must be taken to either renew or not renew. Without that vote, that hearing for that person to give their opportunity to present facts to the board, it doesn't happen. I'm not sure what happens in that. Speaking with counsel, that would be a long conversation there. So from a procedural standpoint, that's kind of where we're sitting at this point. So if we don't take any action on the vote for renewals and non-renewals, it's fuzzy to me where we go from here, other than that March 15th deadline is looming.
Actually, Melanie, when I first saw what was on the consent agenda, my first thought also was, well, we need to talk more about this. and I did a bit more investigation of Oregon law. And what Byron just said surprised me. It's correct. Because for the consent agenda, I would have, maybe I shouldn't say this now. I would not have voted to pass it. But when I learned what Byron, I called you Byron, I'm Brian, I'm sorry, but what
I know what you
Byron
mean.
said,
I know who you're talking
the
to.
only path I could see legally was to approve an agenda that I didn't like, and then allow the process to continue where details could come out and significant questions could be asked. It's an ugly path, but one that allows for some action.
One that allows the board to take action.
Yeah,
Right.
one that allows the board, thank you very much, Vicki, allows the board to take action. And yes, these kinds of conversations that are essentially paralyzed by statute, right? Makes it difficult, but there are other ways.
And I agree. I understand the statute and the process. I also think that there are power differentials. So I, knowing that, still wanted to register my discontent with moving forward without a conversation, because I think that people, given what we've heard about lack of confidence and lack of transparency, people need to know that those conversations may go forward with open minds and with people hearing from both sides, as opposed to just consenting yes, as if there was complete agreement.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
So I couldn't in good conscience say yes, even though I know legally that's the approach.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's really, really hard. When your conscience says one thing and legality say another, but nevertheless, there's still a path for more information.
Given that, I know that we can't talk personnel in meetings such as this, but I do believe there are structural systemic issues that have come up. A lack of exit interviews, NDAs, and other things. When are those kinds of things discussed? What's the legality and the path for talking about procedures and policies?
Can we save that for board comments, that discussion? I want to keep focused so I don't steer us off the correct road though, but I definitely want to address those.
Thank you.
So. Any other comments regarding I keep forgetting what it's called. The non-renewal renewal sheet.
But we still have to vote on it, right?
We still need to vote on it.
The only thing I would say is I'm glad that you guys raised this. It's important the community understands what we're dealing with here. You know, everyone wants to do the right thing for the district, for the school, for the kids, for the teachers, for everyone, right? Because we can't be successful without working together, but we do need to get to that next step by law, as
Right.
everyone said.
It triggers the opportunity to be heard by the board.
Right.
Is what it does. It's not the end of the process. It's the beginning, potential beginning of a process to get into the weeds a little bit.
And the date of March 15th is the final time when any action that's taken in the consent agenda for at least a part of it, that until March 15th, there would be significant, well, not significant time, but time for, should an entity choose to make an appeal, there's time before March 15th.
Yes.
Okay, and until March 15th, a recommendation for whatever might be in that consent agenda is only a recommendation. It is not a fact. Is that correct?
Until we vote on it.
Or am I being too obtuse?
I'm not as sure I understand the question.
Okay, let me see if I can rephrase
It's
it.
nothing that can't be reversed by the board upon a hearing.
Okay, but until
We
March
still have
15th.
Correct.
They have to
Okay.
apply for
All right.
a hearing before.
So-
16th. Is that right?
If an
Yes.
entity
So they have
chose,
until
okay,
15th.
if an entity chose to pursue asking for a legal conversation with the board,
Mhm.
that has to happen before March 15th.
The hearing,
I can't even talk. I'm
the
sorry.
hearing has
Right.
to happen
Yeah,
before the.
so
15th?
The
but
request or the hearing?
but the request and the hearing all need to happen within the next 2 weeks.
It is in the best interest to move that way. It could happen after because if the board, again, it is by action, non-renewal and renewals,
Mhm.
but there is that appeal process that you have
Okay.
talked about.
And that process of requesting an appeal or making an appeal and requesting board involvement is well known.
Yes.
Okay. So any associations of labor would know to recommend that should it be necessary.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you, Jan.
what?
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm not a science teacher for nothing. I have to have all the facts.
I'll set step by step. Any other discussion or questions? I'll entertain a motion on the 24-25 renewal, non-renewal sheet 1.
I'll move that we pass, that we accept the recommendations, with all of us knowing what we think the next steps should be, so.
Been moved by Dawn,
I'll second.
seconded by Peggy. Any other discussion or questions? Call for the vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? 5-1, motion passes.
Oh, do I get to ask this question?
Sort of already voted.
I know, but
You could still ask the
I
question.
Yeah,
was,
if it's related to this, go ahead.
it is, but maybe she doesn't want to answer. I was surprised. You went, well, I'll ask you later.
Just registering my discontent. There's a lot of.
So noted. All right. Thank you all for the robust discussion. Let us move to,
Do you want to go back to do
we're
the
going back
consent agenda
to standing reports.
or finalize did you already, I'm sorry.
We voted on the consent agenda
Perfect, so we're good.
minus that, and then we voted on that. So
Yep.
that
so
should
we
cover
can
everything in the original consent
Yes.
agenda.
Shift here.
So we'll move to standing reports and programs, program reports, performance metrics.
Yes. And
We'll take a short recess for folks who want to
I did.
All right, we will unrecess and restart our meeting, starting with the program reports.
So I'm going to have Executive Director Heilman come on forward here as we post up our presentation here. So we are here tonight to share with you several of our metrics. And so I'm going to hand it over to Director Heilman.
All right.
Just give us a second. Let's get him up. Yes.
I was going to do acting this out, but I decided just to read the slides. If you would like me to change to acting or singing, I will interpret. It might kind of be frightening, but all right. So tonight we're going to be reviewing several long-term performance metrics addressed in our district strategic plan. I do not think what you will see from our strategic plan will look different from what you've seen before, but it's great to review it and make sure we're talking about it. We continue to develop our data sets of how we measure our progress as part of our strategic plan. So this chart table is familiar. We've been talking about it for several years, but we do review and look at revisions that are needed. Next slide on data review overview. Tonight we'll be reviewing the following performance metrics. We'll look at attendance, the 4-year graduation and 5-year graduation completer rates, 9th grade on track, winter universal screener data for our language arts and math. We'll go ahead to the next slide. We'll begin with attendance. And just a quick reminder that the definition of regular attender is being present more than 90% of the days that they are enrolled. Okay. Next slide. The district, I need to find another word for strategic performance goal is to have 85% of all students and 80% of students experiencing disabilities and 80% of students economically disadvantaged attending regularly. Next slide, thank you. This slide shows the percentage of regular attendance for all students through January of this year. Thus, this year, the district has 65% of its students in regular attendance. That is down 3 percentage points at this point in the year last year. Okay, next slide. This slide shows percentage of regular attendance for students experiencing disabilities through January. This year, the district has 60% of students in regular attendance. This is down 4 percentage points at this point from last year. Next slide. This shows the percentage of regular attendance for economically disadvantaged students through January. The district has 60% of students in regular attendance, and this is down 3 percentage points this year in comparison to last year. Next slide. here's a 3-year trend. We also want to make sure that you have a 3-year snapshot in January of our focal groups identified in our performance metrics and goals. We continue to look at not only each school year, but we do look at overall trends. Next slide. This month, the district is starting the new weekly attendance postcards. We have shared with the board previously. Rosanna Larson, I think, presented last month on it. This campaign postcards will give families and legal guardians a visual of their students' attendance every week, which will be shared each Friday. The cards will tell families or the guardians about the classes or half days their students have missed. And I want to thank, there was folks from the district office and schools that all met to get all of this going. It took a considerable amount of time, but there is definitely a priority, obviously, to be working on this. And so it's exciting to have this roll out. And just want to thank the individuals who worked on bringing this new tool to the district. Next slide. We'll now look at our graduation and completer rates from the 2023-24 school year.
Julie, can we talk about attendance before we move on, or would you rather wait till the end?
We can talk about attendance. Go for it.
I see this funny pattern where month by month, and it seems to be similar in all 3 categories, where November, December dip below previous year, and then January exceeds the previous year. Any idea what's happening there?
I'll share a little bit. One, again, we're always looking at sickness. So November, December, we tend to see that first wave. I'd like to say that kids don't get sick, but that's just not the reality. We tend to see our larger amounts of kids not being at school due to illness during those months. And we also see it historically a little bit in March, April. So I'd like to say that has been unfortunately, since even our COVID years, as we were tracking even more than what we do now. But that is some of the issues we have seen. We have looked at several different, even on Mondays, and looking at just different things of why kids may not be coming to school and what that looks like. So I think those tend to be the months where we see a little bit more sickness within the district from a pattern.
Is Monday typically the most missed day of the week?
I think Monday,
Mondays and Fridays.
and Wednesdays too, with early
It's
release.
like at every
start.
company in the world.
So Tuesday, Thursday are great. Just kidding. Yeah, I do think that with it, looking at the attendance through our MTSS and data reflection, we have Ann Beerworth, who's one of our lead data manager, is working with the teaching and learning team, and we're looking at disaggregation of data. So I think as we have our data and looking at different reasons, I will say that too, in December and January, we see families take additional time off from school. But I can't give you that specific data point on that, but we do have a fair number of
And I
kids
want to
that
add to
leave.
that, January has in the past been a lower month, but like this year it wasn't, right? So that's a little bit of an anomaly that we have not seen in the past, because we tend to have lower enrollment in January. So that's a good thing that we're seeing an increase in January from that perspective.
Now it's on. Does this take into account the days when school has been canceled, when we've had no staff? Like, are those considered days that students don't attend then?
It doesn't count as against them in attendance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good
question.
Because, gosh, our staff, that's really hard. There's been a lot of sickness. So
Mhm.
that's an interesting thing. And then the other question I have about attendance is we had talked last year about our students who, our busing issue, where we
Mhm.
don't bus unless a student lives past a mile. And we started to do some walking buses and other things. Are we still doing that? And are we seeing any payoff of that?
I haven't spoken with Nicole, Dr. Smith at Independence Elementary. I think that would be a conversation that we can bring back to with the attendance team. Yeah.
She continues to advocate for moving towards having busing under a mile. Again, that's a cost, right? That's one of the things that we have to continue to consider specifically because for elementary If we transport under a mile, we cannot get reimbursed for that. We're only reimbursed at 70%. Again, at the secondaries, it's 1.5 miles. So that's a funding conversation that I think we can have. We're going to go into budget, obviously, season and can continue to do that, but I still think that's going to be a hard one to work through that.
And I think it's also the route. So if the route even drops and goes and picks up, that all of the prior driving is not, so it's not like a smaller.
Thank you.
Just from an overall program standpoint, would you say that the postcard is sort of the major new thing that we're trying this year?
Yes, and then the communication and the group also, I think, did a great job at communicating with the schools, parents and caregivers around this is what this is. It's coming your way. This is why we're doing it. And so I think it's hopefully families will find it helpful, as some students may not enjoy it. Through Parent Square, which can go either email or cell phone.
And if they're not on Parent Square, they get a physical copy of it, right?
Or sent through their email, but almost every parent is on.
And it is a Power School product. So it is a Power School product that that we have really purchased to be able to move in that direction.
Okay.
And they can in the database, they can see who's opened mail. And when talking to Rosanna recently, she shared that they'll be also looking at who is opening, who's not, for additional follow-up. So to really prioritize that communication.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, we'll jump to the graduation completer rate for 4 and 5 years. Perfect. So here's our strategic performance goal, is to have 4-year graduation rate at 90% or higher for all students. For students with experiencing disability, the goal is to have a 4-year graduation rate 12 percentage points higher than the 2021-22 school year. And then finally, for 5-year completers, as you know, that it sometimes takes students a little longer. And so I want to acknowledge that it's not all students getting done in 4 years. The completer rate's at 92% or higher. Looking at the next slide, thank you. Graduation rates for the 23-24 school year were 78%. That's up 2 percentage points from the prior year. Next slide. Graduation rates for students experiencing disabilities for the 23-24 school year were 74%, which is 22 percentage points from the previous year. So 22% higher, but we like that. Kudos to everyone. That's 8 percentage points higher than the 21-22 school year rates. We are making progress toward our strategic performance metric, which is very exciting.
I also want to add before Julie goes into the 5-year completer, and this was in our press release, but it's not a part of our strategic plan, but I'm going to share it anyways. We had our Hispanic Latinos graduate at 80.5%. That's higher than the prior year at 73.9%. Our students experiencing poverty, again, also up. They're at 71%. Prior year was 64.6%. And then obviously Julie highlighted our disabilities, but our Ever English Learner, so our emergent by state law, it's called Ever English Learner. We identify them as emergent bilinguals because again, it's positive to be able to speak several languages. They increased by 6.7 percentage points and we're at 81.7. So again, I think it's just taking a minute to share about the focal groups within our high school and the success that we are seeing, even though again, small percentage overall, but focal groups are making significant jumps.
And now we're at the 5-year completer rate. When we're looking at this, we are slightly down at 86%. That's 30 percentage points lower than the 22-23 school year. Any questions?
I was just wondering if the 5-year completer for 21-22 was so much higher, like with some relationship to online school.
The COVID experience.
Yeah.
Yes. That was a very unique year in how we worked through that process, but
Depends.
Okay. Go ahead to the next slide. Ninth grade on track. And then next slide. All right. So as a reminder, when we're looking at our ninth grade on track, students who are on track during their ninth grade year have a high probability of graduating on time with their four-year cohort. This slide breaks down credits earned per semester and year to be on track at the end of their ninth grade year. Next slide. The district strategic performance goal is to have at least 85% of all and 75% of emergent bilingual ninth grade students on track for graduation. Next slide. This slide shows a 2-year trend of our semester 1 on track results. As you can see, we are down 4 percentage points for all and 9 percentage points for our emergent bilingual students for the ninth grade on track to graduation. Next slide. The school continues to implement strategies and action steps to move students forward in being on track to graduate throughout their first year in high school. And high school is doing a lot of things. Questions?
Do you have any specific examples of interventions?
I don't have specific examples of interventions. Staff are meeting, reviewing student data. I guess interventions could be that there's individual student contact, tutorial groups, looking at how to get kids engaged and to find out what's creating some of the impact. But I think that would be a good follow-up in some of with the ninth grade on track.
Okay.
To get actual data and input from them. Right. Universal screener. And next slide. So we're going to look at our winter screener results. The district strategic performance goal is to have 70% or more of all students by third grade achieving at their expected grade level in reading. For math, we want to have students by third grade achieving at 60% or more of their expected grade level in math. Next slide. All right, so for our winter results, 44% of current third grade students are at grade level in reading. As second grade students, they were 48% at this time. Pausing for thinking. As our new language arts program spirals, so when we have a spiraling a program, it allows students to revisit and continue to build on key concepts. So it's not a one-time learning and then they have to kind of remember. It continues to move throughout the learning process through the year and then year on every year.
And before Julie goes on from this a little bit, there's also something that we're starting to look at, and especially from fall to winter, winter to spring, we are looking at things like typical and aggressive growth in a student. So you really want to see that aggressive or typical growth moving towards the end of the year at about a 70% as an example. So just fall to winter, and again, I'm just giving you K-8. We're looking at overall district of 53% from fall to winter. So again, you're seeing 53% of students have aggressive or typical growth, which is moving them, the goal is to get them at a standard. So again, that is something that we are looking at and continuing to pay attention to as we move that. Our goal is then hopefully from winter to spring, the goal is really nationally that you're getting 70% of that growth in a year. That's a national average that we're looking for.
And we do want to see that typical or aggressive growth. That's the key to getting kids at their grade level standard. And we are seeing overall growth as a district at 53% from fall to winter overall. Next slide. All right, so can I think head back one? Yeah, thank you. Is that right? Or is that?
Yep.
It's a problem when you're going on your own machine. So now we're looking at math for third grade. In math, 45% of current third graders are at grade level. Last year, they were at 58%. So have a little drop. We have been working to do both areas with we've been working on our adoption, which we know we had to pause. And we're hoping to have the implementation of the new math curriculum and the 25-26 school year. We do have our ninth grade group. Our high school adoption is in process with the starting of ninth grade. So we will be able to look at what the impact is with that implementation. Similar to reading, we do want to see a typical or aggressive growth with our progress in math.
Two questions. The 23-24 number, does that reflect the whole entire year? And does the 24-25 only reflect the first?
These are
It's
winter to
winter.
winter. So we are giving you winter of 2022-23, winter of 23-24.
In comparison.
Correct, right?
Same
So
time.
the same group at the same time, and we'll do similar with you in the spring. And then we tend to, at the end of the year, look at, here's where they were even 2 years back fall. This is where the full growth is, right? Because I think you can't look, we want to show you in isolation because it's important that we're looking at the overall growth of students, but you can see a little bit of a dip in the winter as Director Heilman shared. This spiraling approach of the curriculum, which means they're hitting some standards and then they'll come back and hit them again. That is helpful for kids conceptually when we go through the teaching process. And so again, that's just something you do sometimes see a dip. We hope that we're trying to move out of that, but you do sometimes see that with the winter. Because really the goal is in the end, where are they every spring? How much have they grown? Not only in the reading and then how that correlates to overall test scores.
There's also a discussion within the elementary group, the timelines or the amount of instruction time from the first screener to the second screener, and making sure that we're trying to balance those to happen around the same time every year. And are we providing enough time for students to actually be digging into additional standards? So that will be on our radar for when we're looking at our assessment calendar for next year.
The other thing that's happening in this chart, though, is each year, this is one cohort, but each year the bar is going up a little bit.
Correct.
Yep. Correct.
Yes.
Since we had that massive growth last year. It's hard to keep maintaining that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I was happy with it. It was exciting.
I know,
And I would say that doesn't mean that they're not going to take a jump. Again, I think as the curriculum spirals, we'll find out with the work that's being done at the building level. Again, I think there's really good things happening with our teaching, especially because we're now in our third year in implementation K-5 and second year in 6.
With the reading
6-12
and then
with,
math,
language arts.
their PLC groups with math have also been working on the standards and looking at their unit development and assessment. There's all the teachers that have been involved with the math adoption and that process have been great and really good input. And I think we spend a lot of time on reading, and it's kind of nice, I think, refreshing sometimes to actually look at math. And staff have been phenomenal. All right.
Susan, did you have some?
I'm just dreaming about full implementation of the math curriculum.
Oh, Yes, great.
Everyone is.
So now we're for the strategic goal is to have our 60% or more students at 6th grade achieving at their expected grade level in reading. For math, we want students by 6th grade achieving at 60% or more of their grade level in math. Next slide. So for reading, our winter results were 53% of current 6th grade students are at grade level, which is great. Yeah, it's good improvement. This is an increase of 3 percentage points from their 5th grade results last year. This is a bright spot that we want to make sure that we're celebrating because it's very exciting. We're seeing the growth within the alignment of our K-8, K-12 with language arts. And again, I'm going to say the same thing with the work with the language arts adoptions, their work with their PLCs, that staff are very committed and working very hard to help students make that aggressive growth. Next slide. This is our math. In math, we had 35% of sixth grade students at grade level. Last year at fifth grade, the students were at 37%. And we know there's a lot of work that we need to do with math across the board. Again, excited that ninth grade is starting, really hoping that we can dig in with K-8 if we can figure out how to make it happen. Next slide, eighth grade cohort. The district strategic performance goal is to have 60% or more of all students by eighth grade achieving at their expected grade level in reading. For math, we want students by eighth grade achieving at 60% or more of their expected grade level in math. Next slide. For our winter results, 38% of sixth grade students are at grade level in reading. Am I reading this right? Nope. 30 of eighth grade are grade level. This is an increase of 5%.
And let me just add, this is the first time we've seen an increase at the secondary level at the middle school. So the past couple of years that we've been implementing this, we have not seen the growth. I think that says a lot about what's happening at the middle school, and especially with the implementation of the language arts curriculum.
These are the same kids.
Correct, correct.
Mhm.
That's really important.
I mean, we've got work, I want to be clear,
Yeah.
we've got work to do. It's not to where we want it to be, but that's the first time we've had an increase at the secondary levels.
And I think it's been frustrating for Talmadge teachers who are working really hard, providing good and positive instruction, working with students with unique needs, and then also as a core to see the growth is great.
Is that since it's the same kids and we get a measurement, it's far more and more telling in terms of truly what's happening with growth and instruction than a percentage point up there that might be 6 kids. And so how you're using the data, I think, is really reflective of good research practices. Thank you.
Yeah, well, we have I would say a really strong teaching and learning team and data. We have a lot of data lovers, which is good.
Boards here, well, you know, we've got this incredible growth. And it turns out that, you know, instead of using data from 200 students, it's like, well, we chose 25 as a representative example, and that's not happened here.
Right. Well, and it's all students. It's not pulling out different focal groups that inflate scores. Yeah, it's better to show things that we can actually compare to.
Yeah, and I would just say that's just from when we built the strategic plan, that's from the voices of the students and staff and community members as we went out several years back to do that, really focusing on what do you want us to focus on, especially the data and looking at those pieces. And I think that, again, establishes our strategic plan and continuing to move forward with that.
I think it's also pretty important to remember that these are reflective of national data too.
Correct.
I think when we talk about grade level text, when you think about what the average person is reading online or in newspapers, those are written at 5th or 6th grade levels. And so what we often see nationally and with our adult population is that literacy goes down. So these 8th grade level texts are actually quite a lot more difficult than what most of us, even in this room, are encountering on a daily basis with the text that we read. And so I think that growth is pretty important to note. Because sometimes it does look really low, but I think when we're looking at school-based texts and the difference between that and what we're seeing online and what normal people who are out of school are reading, those are not texts that are reflective of the day-to-day experience of most people.
Yeah, it may be interesting to actually start looking at having the national or even state.
Yeah, we've talked a little bit about that, and I think that's a conversation as we look at goals. You know, is that something that we continue to add into that?
Put them in context.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go to math, 8th grade, please. So in math, 25% of our current 8th grade students are at grade level. Last year in 7th grade, they were at 22%. So this is a 3% increase from last year. next slide. So we want to highlight a few of the action steps and strategies being, well, this is kind of a summary. Any questions before I jump into that? All right. So highlighting a few of our action steps and strategies being used as we continue to focus on reading and math. The district is starting to see successes of the alignment of the K-8 language arts curriculum with K-5 in their third year of implementation and K-8 in their second year. You're seeing some of the first positive shifts in reading at the middle school, which I do just celebrate. People are working really hard, so it's great to see the growth. We will share next month about the implementation of our English language arts, our English language development curriculum. I love just English language arts, but the English language development curriculum is helping our students learning a second language to have success in language arts and continued growth in language development.
And then
Jen, do
I
you want to
would
share about?
last week I was in IES walking the building with Dr. Smith. And we had gone upstairs into fourth and fifth grade. So a couple of things I just want to just share out, because I think when we talk about alignment and what is going on, from classroom to classroom, fourth or fifth, again, up on that floor, we were seeing the same tools used as they were focused on writing. So I'm a fourth grader and I'm using this tool, graphic organizer, and then I walked into the fifth grade class and we're using the exact same one. So the alignment that's happening at the buildings from that perspective. When you talk about a building that has our highest level of English language learners, things like a sentence frame. So again, helping students to have, we're going to add words in or give them a frame to say, what would this look like in gathering information from the text that we're reading? Even in a strategy where they were doing a read aloud and the teacher would pause and the kids would reiterate the word. So they're reading along because again, you want that fluency. They were pausing at what I call sight words. So for your English language learners, the, same, right? Words that we talk about that are important in the language that we see consistently. So doing that, but also at the same time, pausing on very large academic words and everyone going through that. The rigor and the engagement of students in those classrooms has improved immensely across the district. And so that's really good to see when you're walking in, and the questions and the dialogue that is happening amongst students was pretty phenomenal. So again, I think that's just credit to the work that's happening in all of the buildings across the district.
Yeah. Okay. So I do want to share that the schools continue to adapt and implement what they call is what I need time for interventions. K-8 in middle school is also within the 6/8. It's win time. The 6/8 continue to look at avenues to provide additional intervention and support to help build some of those lagging skills for students. Because really the goal is to close the gaps. And so students can continue to move forward and either meet or beyond their grade level. There is also what we've been talking about for several years are the professional learning communities, and all schools are continuing to improve and work as teams using data, working on assessments, and just continue to make growth. And it's been kind of cool to see, kind of watch what's going on. Any questions?
What I need is the intervention that I remember most when we did the tours in the different schools. And so, I mean, we still have sufficient staffing to offer as much of that as we need.
Schools have worked very hard to be creative, to use staff as effectively as possible to do that. There's definitely, there are definitely fewer opportunities for some of the intervention, but there's still a lot of all schools still have the win time. It just maybe groups might be a little bigger, but they have their problem solving, their creativity has been pretty cool to see. So that's definitely kids are still getting what they need or what they need.
They were part of those ESSER funds that went away, right?
Yes.
That impacted that program.
Correct.
But yeah, I encourage you to go check out some of the things that they're doing. It's fun to see the growth in kids. Yeah. 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 Pay them. Yeah.
Teach them before the coma sets in.
That's right.
It's true. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Julie.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for your support with the schools. Appreciate it.
Superintendent's report.
Yeah, so I just want to update the board and the community about what happened this morning. So at approximately at 8 a.m. this morning, Central High School went into a hold, part of our standard response protocol. Based on the information received from law enforcement, we put all district buildings, that includes Ash Creek Annex, Ash Creek Elementary, Talmadge Middle School, Central High School, and the Central Health and Wellness, because that is our property, into a hold. Just a reminder to the board and the community, a hold means students clear the hallways or remain in rooms or areas until the all clear is announced. Staff close and lock doors, account for students and staff, and then do business as usual. Local law enforcement officers quickly located the individual in question and determined that the object in question was a toy in the shape of a weapon. There was no threats to students, staff, or community. That hold was lifted at approximately 8:30. We appreciate the quick response and the professionalism of our staff, students, school resource officer, and the police department partners. Initial communication went out to all families at 8:40 when the hold was lifted, as our first priority is the safety and security of our students, staff, and our buildings. We are going to make sure we get all the correct information and make sure everything's safe before we share out. And I know that can be difficult for the community to understand. We want to remind our students, staff, and community that weapons of any kind are not allowed on district campuses. If you have information or concern, please contact your building principal, the district office, or report to safeoregon.com. If there's any type of immediate threat, we always ask to please call 911. We did have a follow-up communication that was also shared out via our communication platforms through Parent Square, our website, and Facebook, sharing very similar information that I just shared with all of you. So I just wanted to share that with the board with what we were dealing with this morning. Handled very well. And we hope that those situations don't happen, but you can tell the training and things that we've done have helped, because we are going to have those every once in a while, and we take them very seriously. So I want to just update the board with that. I'm not going to answer that. So, okay. Then the only other thing I have is we have an update. This is for information first reading only. In that, so we are updating and moving forward with a OSBA recommendation and limiting personally identifiable information that has in the past been considered directory information. The directory information can be released through the appropriate procedures. And then again, we reviewed this with board leadership, wanted to make these changes as requested or recommended by OSBA. So again, this is just first reading. There is nothing that you need to do at this point, and then it will move forward into our next board meeting for final approval.
Automatically get it out of our databases.
No, we will still collect. Don, she can't hear you, so she wants to make sure you
Sorry.
say.
I was just asking if it got us out of our database.
No,
got
we
this information out of the database.
the-
Of course, the answer is no.
Yeah, the information is still needed. It will no longer be directory information. Correct. That's a recommendation coming from the Oregon School Board Association.
So unless a student is in sports, it's just their name and photograph? And then if they're in sports, their
Correct.
weight and height.
Which again limits a lot of things. There's going to be other people that are going to be very upset with us, but that's okay, because this is what we need to do for our students and families.
And we did actually ask about photograph. That's required for sports
Okay.
also,
Yep.
so.
Any other discussion on that policy? All right, move on to board reports. Next board PLC will be March 17th. Next board meeting is April 7th. Susan will be conducting the PLC. First crack at it. And a note there that we are recruiting from members of the budget committee. So if you know anybody who's looking for a rousing good time, volunteer for the budget committee. In all seriousness, no, that's how you allocate your values is where you spend your money. So it's not exciting, but it's important. So
I believe we need at least 5 or 6 more members.
Correct.
And the application forms on the district website. And we really, really, really want to invite people to be on the committee.
So if you, I know if you're a citizen of Monmouth or if you live within the central school district, you can be on the budget committee. What if you are an employee as well?
Maybe what was the question?
If they're an employee of the district, can they be on the budget committee? And I believe they can. I can follow up with that. They cannot. Thank you. They cannot. That's my resident expert back there.
Okay.
So you have to be a resident of the central community or our boundaries,
But not employed.
but not an employee.
Do you have to have children in the district?
No, 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 not at all. Anyone that is a resident of our boundaries can be part of the budget committee.
Still in zones, but.
We
but if we
do.
can't- But if we can't get them, then we just do it.
Correct.
So there's no reason not to turn in your letter of interest,
Correct.
whatever
No,
it's called.
highly recommended.
Yes. It's an application.
right. We will jump to comments by individual board members. Melanie, you had some stuff you wanted to talk about.
Already talked about it, and thank you
Okay.
all for bearing with me and letting me register dissent and
Okay.
to talk through that. Thank you.
All right, sure.
Yep. Oh, were you gonna go down?
I just thank you for doing that.
Actually, Melanie, I think you were gonna talk about, you had some questions about the process of hiring maybe, and so we wanted to get
Yes.
that on maybe a future PLC or.
I'm sorry that I forgot that. Yes.
Yeah.
I would like us to have on a future agenda discussions about the hiring process, exit interviews, NDAs, some of the things that were brought up. I think it would be really important for us to investigate and understand how that is working in the district.
Okay. We'll talk about that at our agenda setting,
Thank you, Peggy, for
our agenda setting meeting. That's what I thought she wanted to talk about.
I'd like to thank the community for coming tonight. And it was such a pleasure to see a well-mannered, civilized a group of people with a serious questions and serious concerns. And it was absolutely a model of democracy, I think, at its best. And that it's a real credit to our community that the citizens that came and spoke were absolutely well-mannered, they were articulate, they were, their topics were important. And I would like to see that kind of communication lots of times at our board meetings, because what we do matters and what they tell us matters. So I'd like to thank the community and everybody sitting around this table for truly listening.
And to add on to what Jan is saying, PLCs are also public meetings. PLCs are also broadcast on the YouTube link, whatever it is. So all of that stuff is available to people to hear what we're talking about while it's happening. And I strongly invite people to participate, not just in board meetings, but also in the PLCs.
That would be lovely.
Yeah, and the PLCs, if no one knows, the PLCs are mostly 1 or 2 topics that we do a deep dive into. And so if there's something on our PLC agenda that you're interested in and you really want a deep dive into it, it's a good time to visit and be part of our audience.
And And I think your point was well made. I don't think that a lot of folks know that those are open meetings.
Right. I don't think they do either.
That they can come and they can sit and they can take notes and they'll get a bigger picture of what our responsibilities are. I'd love to share that. with the
And the
community.
way we discuss things
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Any other comments, questions by members of the board?
Nicely done, Chair.
Oh.
Good job, Hyman.
Thank you.
Brian, what do we call you?
Hey, you, just hey, you.
And he did a good job.
Thank you.
Yes, very good.
Turn your attention to the items for auction. We do not auction here. Items for action at future meetings, just pay attention to those. And if there are no objections, we will adjourn for the evening. Thank you all.
Kind of on time too. That's great. Thought I'd be home at 11 o'clock tonight.